My name is Eric Sampson. I am 35 years old and I am looking at my newborn daughter through the window of the maternity ward. Her mother is comfortably settled on the bed, and I am waiting for the nurse to come out and dress me so that I can hold my daughter again. For some reason, nurses always want to dress me and other visitors in gowns and wash us before allowing us to touch the baby. I guess it's understandable. I don't want anything to happen to my precious little angel before she starts her life. They dress me, and I take her from the nurse's arms. Once again, I marvel at the absolute beauty of the tiny wrinkled human being in my arms. From the moment I saw her, I loved her more than anything else in the world, whether she knows it or not. I already imagined what kind of person she would become. I was ready to watch her grow up and help her throughout her life. No matter what happened, her mother and I would be there to guide her through life. Half an hour later, which flew by in seconds, I handed her to the nurse. As I left the ward, I noticed a very attractive blonde woman waiting for me. My happiness evaporated, and my smile turned into a grimace. "Mr. Sampson," said the security guard, "we don't usually allow strangers in the maternity ward except family members, but this woman said she was related to you." "It's okay," I replied. "Unfortunately, she's my wife." "How could you marry a woman who, unfortunately, looks like that?" he asked. "Believe me, that bitch is crazy," I said loud enough for only him to hear. You look very good with a baby in your arms," Andrea said, coming up to me. "You'll be a great father, but I think you need to rethink your actions. The divorce won't happen, no matter how hard you try. I'll do everything I can to make sure it doesn't. We need to sit down and talk. We're throwing stones at each other through lawyers, and they're just getting richer. Let's just talk. Just a few minutes." Andrea, my wife, beautiful, spoiled, and curious. She's used to getting her way, no matter what, and she just can't accept that things aren't going the way she wants them to. "I have to be there when Melissa wakes up," I told her. "We have about an hour to talk. Let's go to the visitor's room. We can talk in private there, if you're not going to try to turn this into another argument. But remember, you're the one who wants to talk. If you start yelling or lashing out at me, I'll have you thrown out of here." We entered the auditorium and sat down in chairs against the back wall. "This is your show, Andy, so say what you want to say and let's get this over with." She licked her lips and began to speak. "First of all, I want to say that I forgive you for cheating on me. I forgive you for breaking the rules we set in our relationship. I forgive you for getting another woman pregnant and running away with her. I want us to put all that behind us, and I want you to come home so we can rebuild our marriage. I understand that you will have to pay Melissa child support, but I think you should limit the time you spend with that child so that it won't be difficult for you to choose between him and our children. I love you, Eric. I have never loved anyone but you, so I am willing to forget everything you have done and take you back. I also promise that I won't say a word to anyone. We will just move on with our lives. I won't try to make you think about it. Let's just say it was all a big mistake and forget about it. Melissa always wanted a child more than anything, and Mike couldn't give her that. So if we get back together, everyone wins." "Andy, can we really do this?" I asked with feigned sincerity. "Are you giving me a get-out-of-jail-free card?" "Just this once," she smiled, nodding her head and reaching out her hands to me. "I'll never lose you no matter what, and I won't share you with anyone. You're mine forever. I'll kill Melissa before I give you to her." I recoiled from her as if she were on fire. "Get off me, you stupid bitch," I growled. Then I got up and walked away. I realized I couldn't let Andy go. She was still crazy. I walked down the hall to Melissa's room. I smiled at the nurse and pointed to the door. "She'll be asleep soon," the nurse said quietly. "I don't know where I want to be," I said. "I want to be the first person she sees when she wakes up." The nurse smiled again and waved at me as I entered the room. Melissa was lying on her side, facing me. I covered her with a blanket and sat down on a chair next to the bed. Even in her sleep, she was beautiful. It must have been her inner beauty. God knows Andy was beautiful on the outside, but when she slept, she looked damn mean. For some reason, when she was unconscious, her inner ugliness shone through the mask of her facial expression. I looked at Melissa's blissfully sleeping face and the last 16 months flashed before my eyes. I'm a successful architect, and Andy and I had just moved into the house we built ourselves. At first, some of the neighbors were unhappy with our house because we bought 2 adjacent lots and tore down the ranch-style houses that were on them. Then we built our dream house on the site and planted it with greenery. Our house may have been a little bigger than the other houses in the neighborhood, but it was our dream home. where we could grow old together and someday start a family. Many of our neighbors didn't come over to introduce themselves right away, but Mike and Melissa came by on the first day we moved in. They lived right next door and we could see into their kitchen from our patio. Mike was overweight with a bit of a belly and 2 days worth of stubble. Melissa was very cheerful and, although not a match for Andy, very pretty. They brought pizza and beer, and we spent our first evening getting to know each other. It was the first of many evenings we spent on the patio, in the pool, or in the living room. Over the next few months, we became best friends. On weekends, Mike and I often went bowling or played golf. We always drove around in his pickup truck or my Mustang GT. I love that car. It has custom paint, a Flowmaster exhaust system, and many other modifications that are not worth mentioning. If you saw that car, you would think it was just a red Mustang with stripes down the bottom. Upon closer inspection, you'll notice that the stripes are the outlines of buildings that I drew myself. It's a beautiful car, and I still love it. It's going to be tricky to install a child seat in the back seat, but what can you do? We spent many evenings at Mike and Mel's house or at our house. Mike, like all the other guys I knew, couldn't take his eyes off Andy. Wherever she was, my wife never took her eyes off her. Have you ever thought about switching? Mike asked me one evening when the women were busy. We don't have a swing, but it might be a good idea, I replied. No, silly, I mean try what the others are doing. It might put some spice back into your relationship. After a long marriage, even the best relationships get a little boring. Even if you eat steak every night, sometimes you want to try chicken or fish, if you know what I mean. No, I don't know what you mean. See you later, Mike, I said, getting up. That evening, when I went to bed, Andy asked me why I was so upset. It's nothing, I replied. Mike just said something really stupid. She lay down next to me and said, Eric, don't worry. There's no one in this world I want to have children with. There's no one I love. I swear to you, we have all the time in the world. I'll spend the rest of my life married to you, I swear, she said. We'll be happy and we'll have the best family in the world. She hugged me, and we fell asleep. Since we started living together, Andy had gotten into the habit of sleeping with one leg and one arm wrapped around me. She claimed it had become a habit and she couldn't fall asleep without me. I drove to work every day, covering long distances in my Mustang. Andy stayed home and took care of the house. Melissa and I often waved to each other when she left every morning in her old Honda. Mike was busy with chores, so he stayed home. I was glad about that because, in case of an emergency, Andy could call someone and get home much faster than I could. A few weeks after my conversation with Mike, the topic came up again. This time, it was Andy who brought it up. Eric, she said, have you ever wanted to try another woman? Hell no, I muttered. I love you and you're enough for me. Well, I'm not saying I want you to go out and find some stranger. I'm just saying that maybe we should find someone else, she said. I'm just curious. Besides, we're almost there, she said. Andy, what are you talking about? I asked sharply. Haven't you noticed that the last few times Mike and Mel came over, something strange happened? She asked. While you were doing that, Mike was looking at me and I wondered, she stammered. What things? I snapped. Well, what it looks like, she said quietly. Be more specific, I said sternly. Andy wasn't used to my harsh tone, so she took a step back. I don't think she was afraid I would hurt her, she just wasn't used to me not giving her what she wanted right away. Let me give you an example. After I got my first order and did a great job, my bosses at the time gave me a significant raise and a bonus. I wanted to save that money to start saving for a house. The next day, Andy brought me the paperwork for her BMW to sign. The down payment alone covered the entire bonus, and the monthly payments would definitely strain my income. That car cost more than the house we were living in at the time. In the end, we ate tuna for a month, but Andy got her car. Be more specific, Andrea. I want to make sure I understand you correctly, I repeated. You're asking me to sleep with another man, right? Well, not another man, just Mike, she replied quickly. No, I replied sharply. Wait, I'm sorry things didn't work out the way I wanted them to. No way. Not in a million years, I shouted as loud as I could. At that moment, for the first time since I had met her, I couldn't look at my wife calmly. I stood up, kicked over the chair I was sitting on, and left the room. A few hours later, after a run and some time to cool down, I walked into the kitchen and saw Andy sitting at the kitchen table eating dinner. Here, I'll get you a plate, honey, she said. I walked past her without saying a word, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and went out onto the terrace. I always liked the view from this terrace, and that's why I included it in my project. Looking back, I saw Melissa sitting at the kitchen table, probably preparing documents, and wondered if she knew what my wife, her supposed friend, had offered her. Most likely, she had no idea. Melissa was a beautiful woman, certainly not comparable to Andy, but she just needed to take better care of herself. If she lost her belly and toned up, she would be very attractive. I couldn't believe my thoughts were wandering while I was looking at the moon from the terrace. I guess I wanted to think about anything but Andy's proposal. I always thought I was enough for her. I always thought we were perfect for each other. Obviously, she needed more. I think she saw it as just another thing to ask for and was trying to get her way. I, on the other hand, took it much more seriously. For me, it was the first sign that we were drifting apart, and I loved her so much that it broke my heart. "It's a really beautiful night. It's warm, and the big old moon is lighting up everything," she said, standing behind me. "Is anyone up for trying to swim with a mask in our pool? Or should we just go upstairs?" She came up behind me and hugged me. "Andrea, let go of me. I came here to be alone, to think. But this is your house too, so if you want the terrace, I'll go somewhere else," I said. "I'll go sit by the pool. It's not that far from you," she replied sharply. "Not really," I replied sharply. I got up, went back into the house, grabbed the keys from the island in the middle of the large kitchen, and without waiting for Andy's reaction, rushed out the door and drove away. The exhaust fumes and roar of my Mustang's V8 alerted the neighbors that I was leaving. It felt like I could drive forever, and although I felt better, I knew it wouldn't solve my problem. I say my problem because even though it was Andy who was destroying our marriage, it literally hurt me to do anything she didn't like. In one stupid evening, I yelled at her, cursed at her, and walked away from her. In all the time we had been together, I had never done anything like that. Usually, when we argued, things happened differently. We would compromise, and I would give in again and again until either I agreed with her or she got her way. Andy was my soulmate, so in a way, giving her what she wanted was nice for me too. Andy's smile made me happy, especially when I did something that annoyed her. I couldn't share her with anyone else, even temporarily. I was always obsessed with her love for me. I remember when we first visited her family, I was jealous of her brothers and sisters. I needed her to be only with me. Her father even remarked once that his usual warning to men who dated his daughters was unnecessary in my case. "Son," he said, "I call you son because I'm sure you'll marry my daughter. She loves you and would be foolish to let you go. I usually tell guys that if they hurt my daughters, I'll find them and kill them myself, but in your case, I have a different warning. I know you love Andrea, but remember that you can say no to her from time to time. In the end, it will strengthen your relationship. If you keep going like this, sooner or later she will ask you for something you are not ready to give her, without giving up part of your soul. By then it will be too late because she won't be used to you saying no to her." "You're a good man," he said to me. "Andrea needs that, but don't let it turn you into someone you don't want to be." "I would never do anything to hurt her," I replied. "I'm not afraid you'll hurt her," he said. "You love her too much for that. I'm more afraid she'll hurt you." The next morning, I was about to leave for work when Andy came out of the bedroom. She looked terrible. Her eyes were red and swollen and she seemed out of it. "Where were you?" she cried. You know I can't sleep without you." "I got back around noon," I replied calmly. "I just went for a drive to clear my head and think." "What did you need to think about? Why didn't you come to bed?" she asked. "I slept in one of the guest rooms on the second floor," I said, and walked past her. I didn't get much done that day. Andy called me twice on my way to work and then started texting me. The first thing my secretary Myrna said to me when I walked into the office was to call Andy as soon as possible. I didn't call, and 10 minutes later my cell phone rang. "What's wrong, Andrea?" I asked. "Whether you know it or not, my job isn't just an extension of my home. I have work to do here, which is why I come here." "What's wrong with you?" she asked quietly. "Don't you love me anymore?" "Let's talk when I get home. Please don't call me today." I hung up and tried to get back to work, but I couldn't concentrate. I kept thinking about Andy. I calculated the cost of bricks and cladding for the project I was working on. As soon as I finished my calculations, I started thinking again about what my life would be like without Andy. In the end, I recalculated the same thing 4 times but never finished. I turned on my computer and switched to a project where I could just draw. The house I was working on was for a single man. He was a high-ranking lawyer and wanted something unusual. I came up with a design that suited his taste. The house was mostly underground, with only a large sunroom visible above ground. The house was already built and almost ready to move in. All that was left was to finish landscaping the grounds. The blueprints weren't going smoothly either. I couldn't connect two damn lines without thinking of Andy. I went to lunch with a few clients and one of my partners to discuss a promising commercial project that would make us all a lot of money. I was still wondering what Andy was wearing and what she was doing at that moment. Did she still love me? Where did I go wrong? Could I fix what I had done so she wouldn't need someone else? What did Mike have that I didn't? When I got home that evening, I was ready to talk to Andy, but it didn't happen. As soon as I walked in the door, I smelled steaks grilling. Walking through the kitchen to the patio, I saw Andy in one of her bikinis and Mike grilling on my Weber. Melissa was sitting at the table looking over some documents. I went back to my bedroom and changed into jeans, comfortable boots, and a t-shirt. "Hey, isn't it time to put on your swimsuit?" Andy smiled. "Why?" I asked. "Well, honey, we're all spending time by the pool, and we usually just wear swimsuits. Even Melissa is in your swimsuit," she said, smiling. The smile quickly faded when she saw that I wasn't smiling. "Eric, I was just kidding. You know I love Melissa. She's like my best friend. I know you're tired after all that work, so just come on in. Wear whatever you want. Your steak is almost ready. If you hurry, you can eat it right off the grill just the way you like it." Andy went back to the pool. I heard her say, "He's just getting changed. He'll be down in a minute." I left the house. I don't think they even noticed I was gone until they heard the loud exhaust of my Mustang. I drove to the lake and stopped at Burger King on the way. I parked by the lake and ate a double cheeseburger while playing games on my iPad. After eating, I read a few stories about open marriages on one of the websites. I have nothing against people who want to change partners, but it's just not for me. I got out of the car and threw rocks into the lake for a while. In the evening, I saw several attractive single women walking alone or in groups. Some of them looked at me. One or two even walked over to me and tried to strike up a conversation. I think my body language and the fact that I was holding my wedding ring in my hand to emphasize every sentence made the impression I wanted to make. They quickly backed away and left me alone. What upset me most was that at sunset, I saw several couples walking hand in hand along the promenade. When they smiled at each other, hugged, or stopped to kiss, I wanted to shoot every one of them. Out of envy for what they had and what I had probably lost, I wanted to walk up to every guy and say something to him. "Run away from that bitch before she rips your heart out," I said. "Sure, things are good now, but is it worth the pain you'll feel when she decides you're not good enough for her and wants to have fun with your friends?" I hung out for a while longer that night, and when I got home it was around 2 in the morning. Andy was lying on this couch in the living room wrapped in a blanket. No matter how quietly I closed the door, she hadn't fallen asleep. Her eyes were red from crying, and she had obviously been crying. I didn't say a word to her, not wanting to upset her even more, and just turned around and went upstairs. "Eric, what the hell is wrong with you?" she shouted. "You didn't even notice me yesterday, and it's been 10 long years. Now, you can't even be in the same room with me. I'm like a piece of shit on your shoe that you're trying to scrape off." "Andrea, I'm not going to talk to you while you're yelling at me," I said. "I came home with the intention of talking to you, but you threw a party. You wanted to talk to me so badly while I was at work, but as soon as I got home, that need evaporated. I need to get some sleep because I have to work tomorrow. So why don't you schedule a meeting with me in your busy schedule? We'll talk then." "What kind of party?" she asked. "It was just Mike and Melissa. We see them a lot. They practically live here. What's wrong with you? Don't you love me anymore?" "Yes, Andy, I love you. I've always loved you, but I think that's our problem, isn't it?" I said. "I'll say it again. I have to work tomorrow. I need to get some sleep. Why don't you call Myrna and arrange a meeting so we can talk?" I went downstairs to get away from her. I was very proud of myself for holding back. "Where are you going?" "Our bedroom is upstairs," she asked sharply. When I fell asleep, the only sounds in the house were the guest room door closing downstairs and Andy sobbing. The next evening, Andy was waiting for me at the kitchen table. Something was cooking in the oven, and the house smelled delicious. "Hey, can we talk?" she asked. I sat down at the table across from her. "Eric, what's going on with us?" she asked. "Today, we're the perfect couple, and I'm sure you love me more than anything in the world. And tomorrow, you can't even look at me. We haven't done it in 2 days. And while that may not seem like a big deal to most couples, to us, it's forever. I miss you. I'm going crazy. I want us to be together again the way we're supposed to be." Andy, this might not be possible, I said. Why not? She asked. What did you do? Did something happen while you were driving around town? Andy, I didn't do anything except drive around town alone. You cheated on us, I replied sharply. She shook her head. I didn't do anything, she said. So you don't think that telling me you wanted to have fun with another guy hurt us? I replied sharply. Don't you think the fact that I wasn't enough for you hurt us? I've read stories about open marriages, Andy. They're rarely happy. Most of the time, they're just the beginning of the road to divorce. Not all of them end in divorce, but the percentage of those who break up is higher than those who stay together. This is especially true if only one partner wants it. Everything that falls apart and ends. That's the thing, she said, laughing. I spent 2 days in hell thinking you didn't love me anymore because I was curious. Curiosity killed the cat, Andy said. I really thought I was over it, she said. You said no, and I dropped it, put an end to it. But no, you have to worry about it, sulking like a child. Damn it, Eric, Mike's words made me think, especially after we were all together last time, about how it could have been. You're the only guy I've ever been with. I just wanted to see if all guys were the same. I'm not going to fall in love with Mike. He's lazy, useless, and a slob. And anyway, he would have been the best person for me to try. So you decided to give it a try after talking to Mike? I asked. He asked me about it about 2 weeks ago, and I flat out refused. I guess one of us thinks our marriage means something, and now we know who it is. Mike doesn't care about your curiosity. He only wants one thing. He's stuck with Melissa, who, although a very nice woman, is quite ugly. I guess that makes you feel special or curious, doesn't it? Maybe that's not all, but it's one of the reasons I thought about Mike, she replied sharply. I really wanted to try someone else, and I chose Mike because he's no threat to us. He's your best friend, so he won't try to take advantage of the situation. I don't like him, so I won't want him. It will only be once, and you'll be there to support him. Maybe you can satisfy your curiosity with Melissa. Oh, you've made a damn list, I said. Eric, it's not about us. I don't want to be with anyone else but you for the rest of my life. I want us to grow old together like we planned. I'm not going to fall in love with Mike and leave you. It's not that you're not enough for me. No, Andy, I said. I thought you loved me, she said. I guess I was wrong. You're a complete jerk and you always have been. Oh, Andy, I love you. You say it so often like a broken record. But when I need something from you, you brush me off. This is the last time. No, I said. That's so like you, she said sharply. You're so selfish you only think about what you want. I don't matter to you. If not letting you have fun with some guy is selfish, then I'm selfish, I told her. Andy, I really love you. I love you too much to ever want to share you with anyone else. That's exactly what I meant by selfish, she replied sharply. You just don't know how to share. We've been together for 10 years. We do it at least 7 or 8 times a week, if not more. Since the day we got together, no one else has touched me. That's 7 or 8 times in 52 weeks a year, which is at least 400 times a year. Multiply that by 10 years, and that's over 4,000 times, Eric. I was just asking you to let someone else do it once. If the only reason we're together is because no one else can touch me, then our relationship is pretty sad. I was speechless. I was tired of talking. You know, I could have done this behind your back and not said anything, she said. I could have found some guy to satisfy my curiosity and never told you. You would never have known. But I tried to be honest with you, and look how that turned out. It's nice to know you trust me, Eric. How does the saying go? Love without trust is nothing. I came to you and tried to talk about my feelings, and this is what I get. Thanks, Eric, but it's my body, and I make my own decisions. Good night, Andrea, I said. Wait, Eric, I don't want this conversation to end like this. We have to make a decision, she said. I'm going for a run, I told her. Andrea, you're a grown woman. Do what you think is right. But if you do, be prepared for the consequences of your actions, because this conversation may not end here. Where are you going? She shouted. We're not done yet. Maybe we are, I said. I got dressed and went for a run. When I returned, I was covered in sweat but felt better. I got into the shower and turned on the water. I didn't notice that Andy had joined me until I heard the door close. She ran her hands down my back. I moved away from her as quickly as I could. Andy, there are 3 bathrooms in the house. Find another one, I said, pushing her away. I took a shower while Andy sat there with a shocked look on her face. Then I got dressed. Are you ready to finish our conversation? She asked. Our conversation is over, I replied. See you later. If you walk out that door, I'll entertain Mike, she said. Andy, you're leaving anyway. You made your decision before we even started talking. I don't even know why you needed to tell me, I said, looking at her. She looked at the floor and couldn't meet my gaze. I wish you would understand what I'm going through and just let me take this thing. It doesn't mean anything, she said. If you do this, Andy, our relationship will never be the same. I can't watch you all the time. I hope your curiosity is worth our marriage. But as you said, it's your body and your decision, I said. And maybe it's your stubbornness that's driving us apart, she said. My only response was to slam the door and leave. That evening, I came home early and went to bed in the guest room as I had done almost every night that week. Around midnight, Andy knocked on the door and said she wanted to talk. I locked the door so she couldn't get in and pretended to be asleep when I heard her. The next day, my world began to fall apart. I came home at the usual time and noticed that instead of sitting in the kitchen checking her work, Melissa was sitting on the porch. Hi, Mel, I said. She looked up at me, and the look on her face was terrible. She was crying. I walked over to her to see what was wrong, and then I understood. I couldn't sit in the kitchen and watch them go out on the porch, she said through her tears. I rushed into the house and saw Mike getting ready to jump into my pool. The moment he jumped, I kicked him as hard as I could right in the face. He fell into the water and spat out a mouthful of water. His nose was broken and blood was running down his face. Get out of my house, I told him. And don't ever come back. Hey, buddy, calm down, it's over. She wanted it. She asked me. She said you wouldn't mind. I just agreed. Who wouldn't? Don't make me ask you to leave again, I said. I won't be so nice the second time. I turned around and saw Andy coming out of the house. She hadn't heard what had happened between Mike and me. She ran up to me, smiling. I told you it didn't mean anything, she said. And now that it's over, we can get back to normal. I took out my iPhone, called a local taxi service, and gave them our address. The taxi will be there in 10 minutes. That's how long you have to get ready, I said. If you're here in a minute, I'll kick you out in your bikini. Eric, what's going on? She asked. It's over between us, Andy. It's over. You can go to your parents, a motel, or stay with Mike. I don't care, just get out of my house, I yelled at her. Please, Eric, it's over. It won't happen again, she whined. Last night you told me to keep going. I knew you didn't like it, but you just told me to keep going so I could get it out of my head, and we could go back to our house. Andy, you may have heard that, but that's not what I said. You said that if I left, you'd entertain Mike. I said you'd probably do it anyway. I didn't say you should do it. Ever since this damn idea came up, I've made it clear that I'm against it. I also warned you that if you decided to do it, you had to be prepared for the consequences. And the consequences are what they are. You have 6 minutes to pack your things before the taxi arrives. I don't need a taxi, she said. I'll drive to my parents' house in my BMW. When you get your head out of your ass, I'll be there. Andy, the car is in my name. If you take it, I'll report it stolen, and you'll be in jail by tonight, I said. She looked me in the eyes, realized I was serious, and ran into the house in tears. A few minutes later, the taxi arrived. Hey, buddy, did anyone from this house call for a taxi? The driver asked. I just nodded. Andy, your car is here, I shouted. If he leaves, you'll have to walk. I gave the driver $100 and told him to take her wherever she wanted to go. Andy came out of the house with a hastily packed bag. You should have taken more stuff. You're not coming back, I told her. Please, Eric, we need to talk, she pleaded, watching my rapidly receding back. A few minutes after the taxi drove away, Andy started calling me. I turned off my phone and disabled all the phones in the house. I went out onto the terrace and sat down. As bad as I felt, there was someone who felt even worse. Come on, Mel. Misery loves company, I said. Let's go get some dinner. She didn't say anything, just sat there. So I took her hand, pulled her toward me, and sat her in the front passenger seat of the Mustang. We drove around town until I found a nice restaurant. I ordered a table for two, got the food, and went back to the car. I drove us to the lake where I went every evening. We ate in silence. And then Mel suddenly started pouring out all her guilt to me. Why did he... Well, I know why he did it, but why did she do that to you? Are they crazy? I know Mike doesn't respect me, but I thought Andrea loved you. I'm sure she does. She talks about you all the time. Eric this, Eric that, Eric this. Why is she doing this? I thought she was my friend. I started rubbing her back. She sniffed a little and started talking again. I know Mike has been angry with me lately, and this is just his way of getting back at me for something I said. But it's getting out of control, she said. I'm sorry, Eric, this must be worse for you than it is for me. I'm fine, I said. What do you mean, Mike is angry with you? Well, Mike was in an accident when he was younger and can't have children. I knew that when we got married. I've come to terms with it. I've always wanted children, but I loved Mike just as much. That's why I became the teacher. Lately, it hasn't been enough, and I really want to experience motherhood. Eric, I want a family. I want to share all my love and raise my own children, not teach someone else's. So I talked to Mike about adopting a child. He went crazy. He said, so I'm not a man if I can't make you pregnant? Well, bitch, I'll show you who's the man here. It took him 3 weeks, but he did it. We were silent. When it got dark, the lovers went outside, and I was very upset watching them walk hand in hand in front of that damn lake. Plus, there were too many big rocks that were perfect for throwing, so we left. I came home to an empty house. Melissa had gone home to Mike. At first, I heard him yelling at her, and she yelled back. After a while, the yelling stopped, and I saw her sitting at the kitchen table with some papers. The next morning, I went to work as usual. Myrna handed me a stack of messages from Andy. I threw them in the trash and told her not to transfer any calls from Andy to me. If she called, just tell her I wasn't taking calls or messages from her. Then I gave her my iPhone and told her to go to the AT&T store and change my phone number. Around 10 a.m., Robert Morgan, Andy's father, called me. He was coming into town that day and wanted to invite me to lunch. I met him at the Texas Roadhouse restaurant at noon. I hadn't seen him in about 3 weeks, and at his age, all this stress couldn't be good for him. Hi, Eric, he said. Let's get down to business. We both know why we're here. I warned you about this before you married her. She can stay with us for a few days until you two calm down, but Martha and I don't want to get involved. Well, when you and Martha kick her out, she can stay with her sisters and then with her brother, I said. Hopefully, by then we'll have sorted out the finances and she'll find a place to live, I added quietly. Eric, what are you talking about? He asked. In this state, a divorce takes at least 6 months, but our lawyers will have the agreement ready long before that, I said. Between you and me, I'd rather agree to a lump sum payment than monthly alimony payments where I have to write her a check every month or something like that. I just want this to be over so I can get on with my life. Eric, I still don't understand you. Andrea said you had an argument and you lashed out at her, so she decided to stay with us for a few days until you calmed down. Last night she was crying and didn't eat. I know my daughter. When Andrea is right about something or thinks she's right, she's cold as ice. But last night she was crying her eyes out. I know she did something to make you react like that. Did she buy another car? Last time she did that, you didn't have more than $50 a week. She couldn't even drive it anywhere because you couldn't afford gas. I thought you were doing better financially. Robert, I don't think I should tell you what Andy did, I said. It's not my place to discuss other people's behavior. Damn it, he said. She really screwed you, didn't she? And the stupidest thing I see about you being on the verge of tears is that you still love her. Eric, I warned you about her. Whatever she does, try to work through it. She loves you, and you obviously love her. You belong together, but don't give up. Maybe you should consider marriage counseling before you get divorced. I've heard you tell her many times that you'd do anything for her. Isn't she worth giving your marriage another chance? Andrea has always been strong-willed. I raised her that way, he said. You know how you and she love to sit on the old porch behind the house and look at the moon? When Andrea was little, she loved to climb out the window onto the roof and look at the moon. I told her not to do it because she could fall off the roof and break her neck. But she did it anyway, so I boarded up the windows. One day I was away on a business trip and Martha was at her women's club meeting. Andrea took a hammer, pulled all the nails out of the window and climbed out onto the roof. It had rained the day before, and the roof tiles were still slippery. Andrea fell off the roof and broke her arm. If the bushes hadn't broken her fall, she would have fallen head first and possibly broken her neck. She never climbed onto the roof again. Andrea can learn, he said, but sometimes she has to learn from her mistakes, losing something very important to her. Maybe the fact that she's away from you for a while will solve the problem. I'll ask her what she's been up to and get back to you. Over the next week, my life went in 2 directions at once. I started spending time with Melissa. It seemed natural. She was very angry with Mike, and I missed Andy terribly. Melissa started running with me in the evenings. She also started going to my gym. I think a lot of it had to do with her anger and disappointment in Mike. We talked a lot about our situations. If Mike loved me or treated me the way you treat Andy, I would forgive him for everything, she said. But in our case, that's the problem. Mike doesn't love me. Maybe he did once, but now I'm just an old shoe to him. I go to work every day and bring home money, and he hasn't had a job in 4 years. When I get home, I have to cook and clean before I can start studying for my exams. I'm tired of being taken for granted, and this was the last straw. I haven't told anyone about this, but he's been cheating on me. Andy knew from the start that I was totally against it, I said. She just went too far this time. Eric, we're friends, so there are two things, she said to me. First, every time someone mentions her name, you almost cry because you love her so much, and being apart from her is killing you. Second, you've been together for 10 long years, and this is the first mistake she's ever made. For your own peace of mind, give her another chance. At least talk to her before you give up. The easy way out is to just walk away without trying to fix anything. I wish Mike had screwed up the first time, then I could have forgiven him. But it's happened too many times. The next day, Andy showed up at my office. Security had been told not to let her in, so she sat at the entrance and cried until someone called the police. The police came into the building and asked me to come out. Sir, your wife is downstairs, and she's not in the best condition. You need to go down and talk to her before she does something to herself or someone else, said the first police officer. No, I replied. Have a nice day. Sir, this conversation is not over, said the police officer. He was clearly angered by my flippant attitude and wanted to prove something. How about we arrest you for non-cooperation and put you in a cell with your lovely wife? Then you'll have to talk to her, sir, he said. What if I snap my fingers? I asked, looking him straight in the eye. And what would that accomplish, sir? He asked. When I snap my fingers, one of my assistants will call my lawyer. He'll be at the station before we even get there. By the time you get me to the building for your fake investigation, you'll be fired, and I'll sue the city for more than your annual salary. To avoid further humiliation, let's go to my office and I'll explain what's really going on here, I told him. When we entered the office, I asked him if he was married. He said yes. I asked him what he would do if his wife asked him about sleeping with his best friend. He said he would never tolerate it. That's exactly what she did, I told him. I told her I wouldn't tolerate it, but she went ahead and did it anyway. I called her a taxi and sent her to her parents' house while we work out the divorce. She can't contact me at home, so now she's stalking me at work. I'm a partner here. We own the building. And I have the right to refuse entry to anyone who might cause a scene or interfere with my work. I treated this woman like a queen, and this is how she repaid me, I told him. I don't want to see her anymore. I never insulted her, hit her, or even yelled at her. Don't I have the right to be alone at my workplace? Sir, you should file a restraining order, he said. When we arrived, we weren't aware of the situation. Thank you for explaining it to me. We won't bother you again. But sir, may I ask you one more thing? I nodded. If you really don't want anything to do with her, why are you so sad? I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you, but you look like you're about to cry. You obviously love her very much. Why don't you at least talk to her? Of course, he was right. It was time to talk to her. I walked down the stairs just as she was getting into a Ford Fusion. It was probably Martha's car. I knew Robert drove a Cadillac STS. I knocked on the window, and she jumped out and tried to hug me. I pulled away from her. Eric, I miss you so much. Please let me come home. I've been trying to tell you that it's over, she said. Andrea, if you want to talk, I'll listen, but only in private. I don't want you embarrassing me at work. Meet me at my place tonight around 7, I said. You don't mean our place? She asked. I'll go there now and wait. I'll make dinner. Andrea changed all the locks. It's not our house. Maybe you'll get it after the divorce. Who knows? I don't need any damn dinner. I'm just giving you a chance to say what you want, and I have a condition. What condition? She asked. If you want this meeting to happen, you have to tell your parents the truth about what happened between us. No hints. Have your father call me at 7 when you get there to tell me he knows what happened. Or don't come. I won't let you in until I talk to him. Eric, can't we just keep this between us? She whispered. No one else needs to know. If I don't hear from your father, I won't let you in. And this time I'll call the police myself, I said. That same day at work, I received some bad news. The buyer of my nearly finished underground house had been killed in a car accident. I was confident I could sell the house and had hired landscape designers to finish it so I could put it on the market. The house was too luxurious to appeal to everyone, but the right buyer would be willing to pay a lot of money for it. At 6 o'clock, I went running with Melissa. We had a good time together. I could have run faster on my own, but it wouldn't have been as much fun. How are Mike and Mel doing? I asked. Damn cold, she laughed. He's not talking to me. I'm not talking to him. But you know, I like it. For the first time in our marriage, he's not bossing me around. I picked up one of those brochures they hand out at adoption centers and flipped through it. There aren't as many single parents looking to adopt as there used to be. Of course, I'll have to find a lawyer and file for divorce first, but I finally realized that he needs me more than I need him. I got home at 6:45 and felt like I was being watched. I went inside and took a shower. At 6:58, the phone rang. I picked it up and answered. Eric, I'm sorry, son. I understand why you're upset. I can't believe my daughter would do that. But I believe you have a chance to repair your relationship if you're willing to forgive her and forget about it. A few minutes later, I hung up and walked to the door. Andrea was standing there. Can I come in? She asked. I feel so stupid asking you this. It's my house, too. Let's talk here on the porch, I said. It's a beautiful night and it's nice outside. Andrea, we're not getting back together. We're just here to talk, I said. You're the one who wanted to talk to me, so I'll let you start. Tell me everything you want to say, then we'll go from there. What do you want me to say? She asked. I want our life back. What else is there to say? I know you still love me. We'll need some time to get through this, and then it'll all be in the past. We haven't lived together for 2 weeks. You've called me hundreds of times, sent your father to talk to me, harassed me at work, lied to your parents about why we broke up, and that's all you can say? I was even more upset. What do you want me to say? She asked. Nothing, Andrea, I said, standing up. See you soon. I started to walk into the house, and she grabbed my arm and started crying. She tried to turn me around, but I wouldn't let her pull me back. She came up to me and noticed that I was crying too. Tears were streaming down my cheeks, leaving tiny trails on the porch tiles. What do I have to say to make everything the way it was? She cried. Suddenly, I lost control. I pushed her away harder than I ever had before. I was very glad she didn't fall off the porch because I probably would have gone to jail for assault. And how about 2 damn words, Andrea? I yelled, and the first one was, I'm sorry. Have you ever apologized for all this? Do you regret betraying our marriage vows? Do you even regret what you did to us? Do you regret hurting me? You know, you really broke my heart. How about the fact that you destroyed a marriage that was probably meant to last forever? I guess you don't know that word. You know, I realize now how stupid I've been all this time. And here's the second word, love. Ever since Andrea and I were together, we never loved each other, but we always loved you. I should have just fallen down and worshipped the great goddess Andrea. Screw you, Andrea. Wait, Mike already did that. That's why we're here. I went into the house and slammed the door. I left her crying on the porch. About 20 minutes later, she rang the doorbell. I looked through the peephole and opened the door a crack. Andrea, I'm tired of talking to you. Get a lawyer. You're going to need one. I'm sorry, she said. I love you and I don't want to lose you. I don't want to live without you for the rest of my life. This wasn't supposed to happen. I stepped out onto the porch to listen to her. Eric, there are a lot of things I'm curious about. When I was little, I used to stick a pin in the outlet to see what would happen. Now I wanted to know what it was like with someone else. And I did it. It wasn't that good. In fact, it was nothing. It wasn't even like what we had. It was a mistake, but you're making too much of it. I didn't cheat on you, and I don't consider what I did a violation of our marriage vows. I told you what I was going to do. I wanted you to be there, but you refused. I wanted it to be exciting and fun, but it was just boring. I didn't even enjoy having fat old Mike on top of me. I could barely get turned on, and he didn't even last long. And for that, I have to give up my house, my car, my marriage, my husband, and my happiness? It's just not fair. Andrea, I told you there would be consequences, I said. You just didn't listen. You never listen. Everything always has to be the way you want it. There was nothing special about our marriage. We need to bring something new into our bedroom and try things from time to time, she said. You tried other women and brought new tricks home, and so did I. I don't want us to get bored with each other, she said. Andrea, I've never wanted anyone but you, but now you've ruined everything because I don't want you anymore, I replied sharply. She looked as if I had hit her in the face. In 10 years, I've made one mistake, and that's it. Please give me another chance. I'll do anything you want. We'll go to a therapist like my father suggested. You can do whatever you want to get revenge or feel better. I'll do whatever it takes, I promise. It won't happen again. Don't we deserve another chance? You always said you'd do anything for me. I'm begging you, give me a chance. Let me make this one mistake. I swear you'll never regret it. She looked at me and realized she had me in her hands. You can move in with us tomorrow, I told her. But you really need to find a therapist for our therapy sessions. Her smile could have melted a glacier, and she rushed toward me. I stepped back and raised my hands. We're not ready for this yet, I said seriously. See you tomorrow. The next evening, as I was finishing my run, Melissa pointed to the porch. That's your wife, she said. I'm sorry I'm not going to talk to her. I know I'll have to eventually, but today isn't the right time. See you tomorrow, Mel, I said. Are you sure that's a good idea? She asked. Why not? We're friends now, and best friends because of our shared experience. I smiled. Well, I just thought that maybe Andy wants to spend more time with you, she said quietly. Then she needs to learn to run, I replied. I've learned a lot about her because of this incident, and I want things to work out between us, but I'm not sure I can do that. Some things you can live with and some things you have to let go. In this case, only I can make that decision, and I don't know what to do. I love her so much that every day she was gone, I suffered. I don't know if I agreed to this because it was the right thing to do or just to end the suffering. I get goosebumps when she comes near me, but I'm not sure it will work. You're not sure it will work? Andy asked. Hi, Melissa, she said coldly. Andy came over to me and tried to take my hand. I pulled my hand away and said, I'm not sure we can work together again. I'm sure we're both enough, so you don't have to, she smiled. Just look. Everything will be better than before, I promise. Nothing will come between us anymore. What the hell have you been eating? There's nothing in the freezer, she shouted. Wait, there's salmon in the freezer? Let's grill it on the patio. I'll make rice and vegetables. I'll go shopping tomorrow while you're at work. So we did. The first evening we spent together was so awkward that it seemed almost unbearable. Andy talked constantly to fill the pauses in the conversation. It was as if she thought that if we stopped talking, we would break up again. Deep down, I knew that the chemistry that had once existed between us was gone. I hoped that one day we would get it back, but I didn't know when or how that might happen. Andy started to say something to me, but her words were drowned out by loud banging and shouting from the next room. Does this happen often? Andy asked. Almost every night, I replied. When did it start? She asked. I just looked at her like she was stupid. Oh, she said. I guess it's my fault. But they've been married longer than we have. They just yell to let off steam, and then everything's fine, I'm sure. Mel is saving up for a divorce lawyer. It's her job. She's done with Mike for good. Unless something drastic happens in the next few weeks, they're done, I said. How do you know that? Andy asked. How do you know that? Andy asked. Mel told me, I replied. For a man who does not touch me and barely speaks to his own wife, you seem to get along very well with Melissa, Andy replied sharply. Every man needs someone he can trust, I said. Someone he can talk to about his problems. That's the point, Andy replied sharply. That should be me. It always was. Until you became a problem and lost my trust, I said. Trust has to be earned over time. When we first started dating, it took a long time before we began to rely on each other. Back then, it was easy because we had no past and we had never hurt each other. For over 10 years, we loved each other, trusted each other unconditionally, and had a connection. We had chemistry based on the fact that we almost knew each other's thoughts. Our hearts beat in unison, Andy. Friends, family, work, and money didn't matter to me. Nothing was more important than you. You meant more to me than I did to myself. I was willing to die for you. I had 2 damn wishes, Andy. You know what they were? Yes, she replied sadly. All I wanted was to grow old with you, to have 2 children. I don't need to be rich. I don't need to be famous or influential. Andy, that's all I wanted. And you ruined everything with your curiosity. Remember how many nights we sat here holding each other and looking at the moon? Since we moved here, we've probably only turned on that huge TV a couple of times. Not because there's nothing on, but because we just don't need it. Andy, it's over. I agreed to give it a try, but I'm not sure we can fix things. But it was just once, and only once. You're not even trying to forget about it. It hurts me, too. I feel like I'm just a broken toy to you. You don't treat me like a person who feels and makes mistakes. You're acting like a spoiled boy who got his princess doll dirty and doesn't want to play with her anymore because someone else touched her, she said. It wasn't just a physical act, it was something special, like we brought our souls closer together by sharing our bodies. And now my fairy tale princess has shared her body with the troll from the apartment next door. Basically, we're no longer exclusive to each other, so there's nothing special about it anymore. It's just become cheaper. It's something that anyone can get under certain circumstances. So who or what are you interested in now, Andy? Whoever it is, I'm not making a mistake by telling you about it, she replied sharply. I see what honesty got me. Next time I'll try lying. Andy, there's only a thin thread holding us together right now. If there is a next time, we'll break up so fast you won't even notice. You won't see me until you see me in court. I was so close to leaving your fickle ass that… I stopped myself before saying something I would regret. Even in the dark, it was obvious that Andy was crying. I realized that I had let my anger get the better of me and say something I shouldn't have. Good night, Andy, I said. I'm sorry for what I said. I shouldn't have said that. I guess I'm still angry about everything. Maybe this was a bad idea. Maybe we should have gone to counseling before moving back in together. I'm glad you let me come back. I couldn't sleep alone another night, she said. I'll go crazy if I have to spend another day without you. Why do you think I came to your work yesterday? I know I'll have to work hard to get Eric back, but I'll do it. I promise things will be even better for us, she said. Now let's go to bed. She followed me upstairs, and when I entered the bedroom, she followed me in and sat down on the bed. She took off her t-shirt and started undressing. Andy, what are you doing? I asked. Getting undressed so we can go to bed, silly, she smiled. Andy, we're not going to sleep together or do anything else for a while, I said. There are plenty of bedrooms in the house. Take anyone you like. Andy tried her best to hide her tears. You're not even trying, she said. Maybe you don't love me anymore. The next morning, I got up, took a shower, and managed to leave before Andy got out of bed. I was already pulling out of the driveway when Andy ran out of the house. She knocked on the window, and I rolled it down. I left your key on the kitchen island, I said. I didn't have time to block your credit cards, so they still work, I said, rolling the window back up so she could knock again. You were going to leave without saying goodbye to me? She asked. I noticed you didn't want to kiss me or touch me, but you should at least say goodbye out of courtesy. Andy, you were asleep, I said. I didn't want to wake you. I wasn't sleeping well anyway, and you can wake me up whenever you want. Even if it's just to say goodbye, wish me good night or good morning, or even better if you want to kiss me or hug me, she said. No matter what I've done, I'm still yours and always will be. I know I messed up, but I'm trying to make it right. When I got to work, Myrna asked me, Are you back with Andy? Sort of, on probation, I replied. Well, maybe now you'll get your head out of your ass, she said. She left you a bunch of messages saying the same thing. She loves you. You must have really upset her last night. Why don't you give her your new number so she can call you herself and save me the awkwardness in the future? By the time I got home, I was feeling better. I said hi to Andy when I walked in and started getting changed for my run. Can I invite a couple of people over for dinner? She asked. Andy, it's your house. You don't need to ask me about things like that. You never used to. In fact, I was even glad we wouldn't have to spend another awkward evening together. I met Mel as I was leaving the house. We ran our usual 4-mile route and chatted the whole way. I couldn't help noticing that Mel had lost a lot of weight, especially around her stomach, and looked really good. I bought a new swimsuit today, she said. It's still a one-piece, but Mike's eyes popped out of his head when he saw it on me. He came up to me and started reaching for me until I told him that if he touched me, I'd cut his balls off. How are things? She asked. Weird, I replied. The chemistry between us is gone. It's like I'm starting over with a new person, and sometimes I get so angry at her. It'll pass, Mel said. When Mike first cheated on me, it was more than 6 months before I could sleep in the same room with him. Another month went by and things got better, but even then, it wasn't the same. Give it time. When we were done, I said goodbye to Mel and went inside. Andy opened the door for me, then went to talk to Mel. After my shower, I went downstairs to see what Andy had made for dinner. It smelled delicious. When I stepped out onto the patio, I immediately felt irritated. Mike was sitting nervously in one of my lounge chairs. I told you to stay away from my house, you jerk, I snapped at him. Get out now. Eric, honey, I asked Mike and Melissa to come over for dinner and a swim. Andy said, "Please sit down. I need to talk to you." Melissa stood up and walked over to the lounge chairs next to us, and I was stunned. A month of running and overeating had done wonders for her figure. I couldn't take my eyes off her. This time, I couldn't hide my reaction. I hoped Andy and Mike hadn't noticed, but Mel smiled slightly. "Until recently, the four of us were best friends," Andy began. "Mike and I did something that, while cheap, stupid, and even mean, destroyed that friendship. The four of us had 7 relationships. Us guys as a whole, Mel and me, Mike and me, Mel and Eric, and 2 marriages. Of those 7 relationships, 6 were either broken or seriously damaged. I don't think our relationships will ever be the same. Maybe we'll never be friends again. Maybe that's too much to hope for. But I have a proposal that might help save at least these 2 marriages." "I don't think that's possible, Andrea," Melissa said. "I feel like Eric doesn't love me anymore, and it's killing me," Andy said. "I would give anything to have him hold me again. He hates Mike so much that I can feel his anger right now. And you? Mel, you're not even willing to consider forgiving Mike. Eric hates Mike. He makes him think I'm a broken thing and he doesn't need me anymore. You hate me too, Melissa, and you hate Mike for what he did to me. Everything is so bad because there's no balance. To restore the balance, I think Eric and Melissa need to get together." No one said a word. Crickets chirped in the background. "How's that going to help?" Mike asked. "They're practically dating already," he muttered. "She comes over to your house every day to run, swim, or work out with him. They even have dinner together a lot. Not that I'm complaining, because all the working out and stuff is making her look better than ever. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I've been cheating on Mel way more than I should have. Andy, everything I told you was bullshit. I just wanted you. But I'm a man. I have needs. How do we know they weren't already doing it and just not telling us? I see her looking at him out of our kitchen window all the time while she's checking her damn papers. Melissa and I never did anything like that," I said. "Neither of us cheats, and I don't want to admit it, but I agree with Mike. I don't understand how 2 wrongs can make a right. If Mike stole your baseball and dirtied it, wouldn't it be fair if you took his baseball and dirtied it too? Then you'd be even and could be friends again," Andy says. "It's simple, but it makes sense. Let's just have dinner and talk about it later," Andy says. We had dinner, and although we had eaten dinner together many times before, this time was different. Even more than I expected. I hated Mike and couldn't imagine ever talking to him again, let alone becoming friends. Mike didn't hate me, but he felt uncomfortable around me because he didn't know if I would suddenly jump up and beat him up or decide to entertain his wife who had suddenly caught my interest. Melissa was angry with Mike and was planning to divorce him and adopt the child. I still didn't know how I felt about Andy, but I found it hard to take my eyes off Melissa. Melissa felt sorry for Andy, but she kept looking at me. Andy was angry at Mike for lying to her and using her. Andy was jealous of Melissa because Mel and I were the only ones talking at the table, and for the first time it occurred to her that someone could take away what she wanted, namely me. After dinner, Andy cleared the table. Mike sat alone on the patio watching Mel and me talk at arm's length. Mel and I decided to tease Mike and Andy a little. "Melissa and I have been thinking," I announced. "We've really become friends over the last few months and want to spend more time together. Maybe we'll do it. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll do it and not tell you. Or maybe we won't do it and tell you we did just to tease you." "Oh, damn it," Mike said. "I don't like that either," Andy snorted. "I'll quote something someone said to me recently. These are our bodies, and we can do whatever we want with them," I said. "Mel and I are going out tomorrow night. Maybe by the time we get back it'll be done, or maybe it won't." "Why don't you just take her upstairs and do it right now?" Mike said. "Let's get it over with." "I really don't like this," Andy said. "It's not fair." "Why?" I asked. "You did it your way, and then you bragged about it. You couldn't wait to tell me how you did it, and it was ugly and it meant nothing. And then you expected me to just leave it at that and say, 'Andy, you were right. It's all good.' But it's not okay, is it, Andy? And it probably never will be. That's why Mel and I are going to do things the way we want to. Just like you. Only this time the cheaters will be sitting at home and suffering," I said. "But there's a difference," Andy said. "Mike thinks I'm spoiled and won't put up with his antics. And I think Mike is a disgusting slob and I don't like him at all. I just wanted someone other than Eric for once in my life, damn it. Melissa, deny it if you want, but you're attracted to my husband. You're attracted to Eric. There's a real danger that you both like this too much, so I agree with Mike." You two are better off just breaking up or forgetting about it. I've been through too much trying to get my husband back to just give him to you. Melissa and I looked at each other and moved closer. Then we hugged each other while Andy watched us in horror, tears in her eyes. I had to admit that I felt really good, just amazing. Then we brought our faces closer, pulled away from each other, and shook hands. See you tomorrow, Mel, I said. Don't forget we're running 5 miles. I picked up my beer from the table and went upstairs. Well, I need to check my papers, Mel said, heading into the next room. Mike and Andy just stood there with their mouths open. A few minutes later, Andy knocked on my door. Can we talk? She asked. I guess so, I replied. She entered the room wearing a long robe that covered everything. This was the first time I had seen her like this. She had obviously been crying again. I'll find you a date, she said. What are you talking about, Andy? I asked. Well, it would be right for you to have some fun with someone else to make up for what you did to me. But I don't want it to be Melissa, she said. I still don't understand what you're talking about, Andy. There's something going on between you and Melissa. Maybe you don't notice it. Maybe she doesn't notice it, but trust me, it's there. And it scares me a lot. Eric, I've been a beautiful girl my whole life. I always knew I could get any guy I wanted. I never had to worry about losing a guy to another woman, even if I wasn't giving it my all. It's hard for me to admit, but until tonight, I never took Melissa seriously. She's always been nice, but she's shorter and heavier than me. But now my marriage is falling apart and the stress and anxiety of what I might lose is weighing heavily on me. I don't look my best, and Melissa has somehow lost weight and become insanely fit. And you've noticed it too. Mike is very angry and doesn't want you anywhere near her. You spend too much time together. I'm really afraid that because of your anger towards me and your so-called friendship with her, I might lose you, she said. Now I realize that during our marriage I was selfish and took you for granted, but that's all in the past. It won't happen again, I promise. I know I have no right to ask you for a favor, but I'm begging you. If you want revenge, I'll find you anyone you want. A model, an athlete, a prostitute, Britney Spears, or a damn circus clown. Anyone but Melissa, she said. I'm serious, Eric, she said. I know you better than anyone in the world, and until tonight, I've never seen you look at anyone the way you look at me. And when Melissa hugged you in your fake handshake, her eyes almost rolled back when you touched her. But that's not the biggest problem. What's the problem, Andy? I interrupted sharply. Are you afraid you won't be able to control the situation? You could have picked the biggest jerk we know, who also happens to be my best friend, and had fun with him on my patio in broad daylight. But you want to choose someone I'll be doing it with, so you can be sure it doesn't threaten you. Is that the problem? No, Eric, she said. That's not the problem. The problem is that I can tell the difference between love and sex. I can go out tonight and do this, and you'll still be the only man I love. I can separate the two. You can't. If you do this with Melissa, I'll lose you forever. I'm sure of it. Eventually, my curiosity will fade. We'll settle down, and everything will be wonderful again. And we'll have everything we want. But if something happens between you and Melissa, it won't be the same. Eric, I know I shouldn't ask you this, but can I sleep with you tonight? I know you still think I'm inadequate, and I know you don't want this with me, but I haven't slept well in so long, and I haven't felt safe and warm. As I fell asleep, I could hear her quiet sobs. I felt ashamed of how our relationship had turned out. I also felt guilty because she was clearly trying to fix things, and I was treating it so casually. I guess my mind was saying, let's just wait and see. If it works, it works. If not, at least we tried. Early in the morning, I had a dream that Melissa was entertaining me. It shook me because I had never thought of Melissa that way before. But something woke me up. A second later, I realized what was happening, grabbed Andy by the shoulders and pushed her away. What's wrong, Andy? I shouted at her. I'm sorry, she cried. I was asleep, Andy. I didn't know what was happening. My thoughts were back to a time when none of this had happened yet. When it was just us. Before you destroyed us. We were so happy, and in my dream, everything was like it used to be, I lied. But telling her that I had dreamed about entertaining Melissa would only have made things worse. Surprisingly, I had never lied to Andy before, and I probably should have felt guilty, but I didn't. This didn't bode well for our relationship. So why don't we just pretend that everything is still the same, she exclaimed. Or pretend that we've overcome my curiosity and the damage it has done to us? Then we could cancel all this crap and just go back to our old lives. Andy, I can't pretend, I said. You want me to pretend that you didn't have fun with Mike. Pretend that we didn't talk about it before. Pretend that you didn't throw away 10 years of friendship, trust, and love just because you were curious. Okay, Andrea, since you're such a good actress, put your hands out and close your eyes. Andy held her hands out in front of her. Remember how we felt about each other? Play it back in your head. Remember how close we were? Imagine that I love you so much that I can't live without you. I'll do anything for you. I'll bite off my own arm to be with you. I've always felt that if you died, even if it wasn't from illness or old age, even if it was something stupid like a car accident, I would die soon after you. I have to do this because I just can't live without you. Do you feel that, Andrea? I grinned. Gather all those feelings in one palm. Even in the dark, I could see Andy smiling. Now in the other palm, I began. Have you noticed how distant we are from each other right now? Have you noticed that it's still hard for me to be in the same room with you for more than a few minutes? I tried really hard last night, but sometimes I still get goosebumps when you touch me. Do you understand that, Andy? When I come home, I don't run around the house looking for you because I can't be without you anymore. Sometimes I pray that you'll go visit someone, but then I start thinking about who you went to and if you're having fun with them. Every time you even accidentally touch me, I have to take 100 showers before I feel clean. If you were in an accident, I don't even know if I'd be upset, let alone if you died. In a way, I understand that you're trying to save our marriage, Andrea, but I can't shake the feeling that maybe it would be better if we just let it die. If we break up, I'll suffer for a while, but I've almost gotten over it. I don't know how much it will hurt you because you were willing to risk everything to entertain Mike. I don't trust you anymore, and I don't know if I ever will. Melissa says it will take time, but I don't think we can ever get back to the way we were, and I wonder if I'd be better off looking for something similar with someone else than settling for a pale imitation of it with you. In short, we're like Andrea's broken glass. All the water is leaking out of the hole, only it's not water, it's my love for you. If we don't find a way to plug the hole, it'll all disappear. Andy's smile faded, and she started crying again. Compare those two feelings, Andy, I said sharply. Which one do you like better? The first one, she replied quietly. I want it back so badly. I'll do anything to get it back, and no matter what you think, we'll do it. It'll take some time and a lot of effort, but I promise you that when it's over, we'll go back to the way we were. And we'll be stronger. Something in her words alarmed me, but I didn't pay much attention to it. So, Andrea, think about how nothing else matters right now, I said. I don't want to, she said. I don't like this. I hate this. But you have to think about it, Andy. It's very important to us that you understand, I said seriously. But why? It's disgusting, and I feel like you don't love me anymore, she replied sharply. Because, Andy, this is what you've always wanted to know, I said. Now you know. I went to take a shower and get ready for work, leaving Andy in bed crying. I hated being so harsh with her, but it didn't seem to help her. Some of the things she said made me feel terrible and insecure. She said, "When will this all end?" Another time she asked, "When will all my curiosity end?" She also said that next time I wouldn't be so honest, I wouldn't tell her. Over the next few weeks, the relationship between Andy and me gradually improved. We got back to the point where I could stay in the same room with her. We even spent time sitting next to each other on the patio after dinner. Sometimes Mel would join us, which always made Andy jealous, but I could tell she was trying not to say anything. She didn't like that Mel and I were still spending a lot of time together. Have you been entertaining her? Andy asked me one evening. She was very angry because she had seen me hug Mel after one of our runs. We had just run our first 10 miles and were simply congratulating each other on a great performance. But Andy's jealousy got the better of her. If that were true, you wouldn't be here, I replied. Andy burst into tears and ran away. Later, she came out on deck. I'm sorry, she said. It's just that sometimes it hurts. I came back to our house almost 3 months ago, and things have been better between us. I can feel it. But you still won't touch me, let alone anything more. But then I see you hugging her. I know it's just a friendly hug to you, but if you saw the way you look at each other and hug, you'd understand why I want to strangle that bitch. Now you know why Mike and I will never be friends, I said. The difference is that I only hugged Mel. In public, with our clothes on, you let Mike have his fun. Yes, I did, she replied sharply. I let Mike. And now I'm ruined forever, and the only man I love, the man who promised to love me forever, won't even touch me. Do you know why I hate Melissa so much now? Not just because you're friends, but because I would literally die to have you hug me the way you just hugged her. You two are so comfortable with each other. You're so confident and comfortable with each other. Mike and I aren't like that. It didn't make us as close as you and Melissa are. But in your mind, love and sex are connected. Where's the connection between Mike and me? We hate each other because we did it, and it cost us our happiness. Eric, if I let someone drive your precious Mustang, you'd be furious. Let's say one of our neighbors really wanted to try driving it. I let him drive around the block once, less than a mile, so your odometer wouldn't even change. He didn't damage the car, and you wouldn't even have noticed if you hadn't come home and seen him pulling into the driveway. How would you have reacted? I know you would have been angry with me, of course. But let's not talk about how you feel about me. Let's talk about how you would feel about your precious car instead. She could see me getting angry just thinking about it, because we both knew that I would probably have killed him, cut him into pieces, and scattered him across the country. No one dared touch my Mustang. You'll probably wash the car 2 or 3 times inside and out. You'll restore the leather with Armor All Leather Cleaner. Even if he only sat in the driver's seat, you'll clean all the seats and the interior. You'll clean the driver's seat twice, maybe even 3 times. The steering wheel and everything he touched, at least 3 times. You'll be really angry. It'll take a couple of days, maybe even a week, but I doubt it. But then you'll get back behind the wheel, won't you? And there's nothing you can do about it. You love that car. So even if someone else ruined your precious car, you'd get back behind the wheel. You would never have gotten the keys if I hadn't driven. I would have reprogrammed the garage door so no one could even get to it. But I probably would have gotten back behind the wheel, I admitted. Then why won't you give me a ride? She snapped. Mike entertained me for 5 damn minutes once. I already told you it didn't matter. I didn't even like it. I was just curious. It's been 3 months. You didn't even kiss me. Why can't we go back to the way we were? A hug like the one you just gave Melissa would give me hope, Eric. I should have known it was about that, I said slowly. How about tonight? I asked with a smile, taking out my iPhone. Will you hug me tonight? She asked hopefully. I thought you wanted me to lead you on, I smiled. I thought you wanted to get down to business. I do, she said. This is for you, I said, handing her my cell phone. When she heard Mike's voice on the line, her face turned red and she threw the phone down hard. That's how I lost my iPhone. Summer was coming to an end, and Andy and I decided to throw a party. Just a few friends, neighbors, and some family members. Melissa was invited, which really annoyed Andy, but Mike wasn't invited, which made me very happy. Her parents, brothers, sisters, and spouses were coming. We were very busy planning and buying food and supplies for the party when it happened. Mel and I had just gotten back from a run, and I noticed Mike jumping over the fence into my yard. Andy told me she had gone out for a minute to get some things for the party, so I knew she wasn't home. Why the hell did that bastard come into my yard when neither Andy nor I were home? I followed him. And I swear to God, I thought he was trying to steal something from me or take one of my tools without asking because I knew I would never lend him anything again. Mike didn't stop in my yard, but jumped over the fence into George and Sandy Cooper's yard. I waited a few minutes and followed him. He entered their house without knocking. I took out my new iPhone 4. I bought it to replace the iPhone 3GS that Andy threw away. I crept up to the window. I was sure Mike was having fun with Sandy Cooper, and this video would help Mel get rid of his cheating husband for good. Sandy Cooper wasn't home, but George was there, along with 2 other guys and Andy. I'm next, Mike said. No, Mike. You've been useless to me and you ruined my marriage, Andy said. I almost lost Eric because of you. I didn't wait for Mike to come over. Damn, I thought I had stopped crying over Andy, but I hadn't. I ran into the house and started gathering everything I needed. I was loading my suitcase into the Mustang when Melissa came out of the house. Eric, what's wrong? She asked. I handed her my phone and pressed play. Eric, I'm so sorry, she said. She was crying too, and I could tell she meant it. Where are you taking her this time? Back to your parents? No, Mel, this time I'm leaving. I'm not coming back. I just need to get away while I hide my assets to limit my options in the divorce. Believe it or not, I'm going to miss you more than that fickle bitch, I said. No, you won't, don't lie, she said. Wait a minute, I need to grab something. Mel ran into the house and came back with a suitcase. She threw it in the trunk next to mine and said, Let's go. I looked at her in shock. I told you a long time ago that I would get rid of Mike. Now is the perfect time, she said, unless you want me to come with you. I didn't really think about where to go. We drove around the neighborhood and then had lunch by the lake. When it started to get dark and we still didn't have any plans, I told Mel we'd have to stay at a motel. I saw the first of those terribly romantic couples strolling along the waterfront. I was overcome with such rage that I grabbed a huge glass of soda and threw it at them. It would have hit them if Mel hadn't grabbed my arm and forced me to throw it at another target. As soon as we got back in the car, my phone rang. I saw it was Andy and switched it to voicemail. We drove to the nearest hotel we could find. It turned out to be the Summit Inn. A little pricey, but at least we wouldn't have to worry about prostitutes. I saw enough prostitutes on my phone tonight to last me a lifetime. It was funny because I always thought I'd spend my whole life with a prostitute on my phone. Mel and I walked up to the front desk and put our suitcases on the floor. A few seconds later, a heavy-set older man sat down behind the desk. "Sir, your wife is absolutely charming," he said. I looked at him strangely and replied, "My wife is a promiscuous blonde slut. That's why she's the ugliest bitch I can imagine." "But she doesn't have blonde hair," he said, puzzled. Suddenly, I realized he was talking about Mel. I smiled and said, "Yes, you're right. She's really beautiful. She's the most beautiful woman I know." "We need 2 rooms," I said. "One," said Melissa. "None of us should be alone tonight." "Oh my God, we're in trouble," I said as we entered the room. "There's only 1 bed." Melissa laughed. "Eric, whether you know it or not, you're my best friend. I trust you completely. Whatever happens, we'll be fine. But we need to talk." I didn't know whether to run out of the room or not. When a woman says we need to talk or something like that, it's always damn serious. We had barely started talking when Melissa's phone rang. "I thought that jerk would call," she said. "To be honest, I didn't think he'd notice I was gone." "Oh my God," she suddenly said. "What?" I asked. "Not that jerk," she replied. She put the phone on speaker and put her finger to her lips, signaling that I should listen but not say anything. I nodded. "Hi, Andrea," Melissa said. "Melissa, I don't want to bother you, but could you come over?" "I really need to talk to someone," Andy said. "Andrea, I'm not home right now. I'm back at work, so I can't come over. Maybe this can wait until tomorrow?" Melissa smiled. "Besides, we're not really friends. So are you sure I'm the person you need to talk to?" "Mel, I'm so sorry I did that to you because of Mike. I'll do anything to make it up to you. I'll give you anything you want, just tell me." "You're the only person I want to talk to," Andy said. "Why, Andrea?" Mel asked. "Because you know better than I do what Eric is thinking right now and where he might go. Melissa, Eric just ran away. I don't know where he is or when he'll be back. The last time we had a fight and he kicked me out, there was a reason. As you know, I did something terrible. But this time, I have no idea why he just left me," Andy complained. Melissa and I tried our best not to laugh. "We're slowly getting closer," Andy said sadly. "It's really hard for me, but I'm trying my best because I love him so much. We're even planning a party for the day after tomorrow. I went shopping while you guys were running errands. I talked to Mike, and he said you and Eric went shopping like usual. Mike is very jealous, you know. Anyway, he said he heard you come home, so he knew you were there. You must have gone back to work. Where did Eric go?" she whined. "Andrea, it's only 9:30. Maybe he just went for a drive. When you and my jerk husband were planning your little vacation, Eric went for a drive every night, remember?" "I always thought it was so silly," Mel said. "Why?" "He loves driving that car. I thought that after me, that car was his favorite thing in the world. Now I'm sure that car is more important to him than I am," Andy said. "I didn't say it was silly that he drives the car, Andy. I said you were silly," Mel replied. "Eric is a really wonderful man. He loves you so much. Do you know how lucky you are? Most women would die for someone to treat them the way he treats you. When we were friends, you told me all the time how great you were together. Why would you risk that for some fun with my lazy husband?" "That's what's stupid," Mel said. "Lately, I've been wishing I were you," Andy said. "A few weeks ago, I was jealous when I heard him talk about how wonderful you are. I saw him hug you, and I wanted to kill you, Melissa. I would never let anyone come between us. Anyway, I did something very stupid and I regret it, but I'll deal with that later. I hope you're right. His car isn't here, so he's probably just out for a drive. If he calls, let me know." "I told you," Melissa said, hanging up the phone. "That jerk doesn't even know or care that I left. At least Andrea cares about you. My husband, on the other hand, doesn't care where I am or if I come home." I hugged Melissa to comfort her. After a few minutes, she calmed down. "Why don't you take a shower while I make a call?" she said. I decided she wanted to be alone and went to take a shower. When I came out, I went back into the house. "Eric, turn off the lights," Melissa called out. I turned them off, and she came out of the bathroom and got into bed. "I thought we were going to talk," I reminded her. We can talk tomorrow, she replied. I don't want to ruin your virtue. How can our conversation ruin my virtue? We talk all the time. You're the person I find easiest to talk to, I said. If we turn on the lights, I don't think we'll be able to talk much, Melissa said. And even if our spouses allow us to, I'm not sure it's a good idea. But I realized what I want from Andrea for all my resentments to disappear. Before I could ask what exactly, Melissa said she would never tell me. It was as if she had read my mind. Andy and I used to be like that. I missed it. Sometime during the night, the inevitable argument broke out. It was still dark when I realized Melissa was standing in front of me. A split second later, I knew where this was going, and we got down to business. After that, we fell asleep. I slept like a log. All the tension of the last few months was gone. In the morning, we took the day off work and went on vacation. We called my lawyer and arranged a meeting. We spent the rest of the day in bed doing the aforementioned unpleasant business. Sometime after lunch, I was about to call room service when I remembered my phone. My voicemail was full, and I had over 50 messages from Andy. Melissa had received calls from Mike, and Andy had received at least 10. We couldn't stay at the hotel too long, but after lunch, I had an idea. Mel and I could move into the underground house. I connected the electricity. We spent the rest of the day buying everything we needed and moved in that evening. Which bedroom will you take? Mel asked. I was hoping for the one you're in, I replied. Smart man, Mel said. We spent the evening making plans. We had 2 divorces to start. And other things. We decided to talk to our cheaters at the party Andy and I were planning. Since she would obviously cancel the party, we started calling to make sure the right people would be there. I had a few plans. I had a friend who had bought a decommissioned patrol car at a police auction. He had never been able to drive it on the street because he hadn't had time to remove the police paint and badges. I also had a few friends who owed me money and were willing to do anything to get rid of their debt. At 7 o'clock in the evening, guests began to arrive at my house. Fortunately, Andy's parents were the first to arrive. Mom, Dad, I canceled the party, Andy said. She was crying and looked terrible. I know, her mom replied. But Eric called and said we should probably talk after the party. That's why we came. Please tell me you didn't sleep with another guy when you were about to break up with Andrea. You couldn't have been that stupid, could you? Andy just turned away from her mother. Sandy Cooper came in next, but George wasn't with her. She said he was on his way. Andy learned that Eric had invited the Coopers and wondered why. A few minutes later, Mike appeared with a confused look on his face. He looked around and finally asked Andy where Melissa was. Next in came Sally Stevens with her husband Kurt, and Andy's brother with his wife. Tom and Esther Jenkins called to say they were running late. Esther really wanted to come, but Tom seemed to be stalling. Another couple, whom no one recognized, claimed that Eric had invited them, but they didn't arrive until 8 o'clock. Sandy couldn't understand where George was and why he was taking so long. George was in hell. At 7 o'clock, as Sandy was pulling up to Eric and Andy's house, George was stopped by a police car. They pulled him out of the car, handcuffed him, and put his hands behind his back. Then they put him in a patrol car and started driving him around the neighborhood, asking questions. George was sure it was a mistake. With his hands behind his back, George couldn't see the clock, but he noticed that it was getting dark. He knew Sandy would be worried. He asked if he could call his wife. The police officers said they would call him after he was arrested and charged. He had not yet been arrested, only detained, so he should sit and wait. George looked at the clock on the dashboard of the patrol car and saw that it was almost 8:15. He could have sworn he had only been in the car for 20 minutes. George didn't notice that every time he turned away, the cops turned the clock on the dashboard forward 15 minutes. Finally, they stopped in a deserted spot and waited. When the clock on this dashboard showed 8:55, the radio crackled, and one of the officers began talking into it. "What the hell do you mean you caught him?" the officer shouted. The bastard is right here in the back seat of our damn patrol car." George was confused by what was happening. "Okay, buddy, you were right. It was a case of mistaken identity. Sorry to ruin your evening." As the officer removed George's handcuffs, it seemed to take him a very long time. In fact, he was setting George's watch to 9:05, the time shown on the patrol car's dashboard. "You're free to go, sir," the officer said. "What do you mean I'm free?" George asked. "You took me far from my neighborhood, held me for 2 hours, and now you're just going to leave me here." "I'm sorry, sir. We're not allowed to transport civilians in a patrol car unless they're involved in an investigation or a crime, said the officer, stepping away from the car with his partner. Hey, there's a gas station over there. Call someone to pick you up. Have a good evening, sir. George could have sworn he heard the police officers laughing as they drove away. George looked at his watch. Damn, it was already 9 o'clock. As George headed toward the gas station, a man wearing a mask emerged from the boarded-up store. He walked toward George. Hey, buddy. I don't have any money or a wallet, George said. The man didn't answer, but simply walked up to George and, without saying a word, punched him in the face with such force that George was stunned. He stumbled backward and tried to raise his hands to regain his balance. What the hell? George said. The third blow knocked George to his feet. George thought the fight was over and that he had lost. For the first time in his life, he had been hit so hard in the ass. George was wrong, but the fight was just beginning. Although George had been deceived into thinking that the beating had started at 9 o'clock, it had actually begun at 8 o'clock. At 8:45, Eric's Mustang pulled up in the driveway. He and Melissa got out of the car, entered the house, and went out onto the patio. He saw his mother-in-law and father-in-law, as well as several neighbors. He greeted his wife's family warmly and hugged Sandy Cooper. He nodded to the mysterious couple. Mike approached Melissa to talk to her, but she waved him away and followed Eric. Finally, Andy came downstairs and saw Eric. She ran up to him and tried to hug him, but he pushed her away. Eric, I forgive you for just running away from me, even though I don't understand why you did it, she said. The other guests politely pretended to be busy with something else, but in fact they were watching and listening intently. Wait, you didn't leave alone to think. You were with Melissa, weren't you? She said. But why? We had just started. I was starting to feel that you loved me again and that we had a chance to overcome our problems. She sank to the floor and began to cry. Eric applauded. Everyone come here for a minute, he said. Melissa applauded too. Everyone help Andy, Eric said. That was the greatest acting performance in history. Now we know what Andy's real talents are. I think everyone here knows that Andy and I have had a rough time in our marriage. I recently kicked her out of the house for a while. Andy told me she was curious to see what it would be like to do that with another man, Eric said. I begged her not to do it, but she did it anyway. She went and did it with my former best friend, Mike. With the husband of her former best friend, Melissa. It broke my heart. I hated her for what she did to us, but I still loved her very much. For the past few weeks, we've been trying to fix what Andy's curiosity did to our marriage, but it's been really hard. As Andy said, we had just started this long process of rebuilding our relationship when I noticed my ex-best friend heading out to the backyard. I followed him and recorded everything I found on my phone. Everyone, please follow me into the room. Everyone watched as I connected my iPhone to the plasma TV. In the same room were George Cooper, Kurt Stevens, Tom Jenkins, and of course, Andy. Everyone was shocked by what Mike was watching. The advantage of the iPhone 4 is that it shoots video in high definition. The image on the screen was very clear. Andy's father turned around and begged me to stop recording. Andy's mother vomited the contents of her stomach onto the living room floor. I think now everyone understands why I disappeared a couple of days ago, but they can't understand what it's like when the person you loved and wanted to spend your whole life with hurts you like that twice. I hope you all understand that there won't be a third time. All the love I once felt for her is gone. Now, we only have one way forward. Eric fell silent and nodded to the mysterious couple. They took envelopes from somewhere and handed one to Andy and the other to Mike. You have received a summons, they told them. Envelopes were also handed to Tom Jenkins and Kurt Stevens. The envelopes contained legal documents. Since George was not present, the man asked his wife Sandy Cooper to inform him that he was also a defendant in the lawsuit. That traitor, that bastard, Sandy shouted as she headed for the door. No wonder he left me. I'm going to divorce that traitor too. Everyone else headed for the door as well. Soon, only Mike, Melissa, Eric, Andy, and Andy's parents remained in the room. Eric, it's over. It will never happen again, Andy cried. You're right, Eric said sadly. Where are you going? Andy shouted. We need to talk. Things can still work out. I still love you. You're the only one I love. You heard me say it on the tape? You're the only person I want to do this with. That was on the tape too. I just needed to know. It was just curiosity. She grabbed Eric's leg as he tried to leave. Where are you going? Mike asked Melissa. We need to talk too. I don't like you leaving and having fun with other guys either. Even after what I did. Two wrongs don't make a right, Melissa. We have bills to pay, woman, and your check hasn't come in yet. Mike reached out, grabbed Melissa by the shoulder, and turned her toward him. You're not leaving with him again, he said sharply. We're still married. No divorce and no other men. Eric didn't even stop. He just turned and punched Mike. Then he put his arm around Melissa and led her out of the room. Melissa turned around when she and Eric reached the door. You don't have to worry about me having fun with other men, Mike. I would never do that. I'm faithful to the man I love. I've only ever been with Eric. He's the one. And there are no other men, including you, and I think I got what I wanted. Eric, Andy's father said, I don't know how you feel. I can't believe my daughter is capable of what we saw. Give yourself some time to cool off and we'll figure this out together. Eric nodded, and he and Melissa left. Almost 6 weeks passed before they saw each other again. During those 6 weeks, Eric didn't talk to Andy. She called him hundreds of times, but the restraining order prevented her from seeing him at work, and she didn't know where he lived. She suspected he was still with Melissa, and that made her angry. She was sure that Eric loved Melissa and wasn't just having fun with her. Andy thought it was unfair. She had never intended to leave Eric or fall in love with someone else. Several notable events occurred during those 6 weeks. In particular, Andy experienced a nervous breakdown. Finally, Eric showed up with a truck to pick up the rest of Melissa's things. Mike wouldn't let Eric take them until the police arrived, and Eric showed them the court order, allowing him to take Melissa's things. Where are all the things? Mike asked. She's at the doctor's today, Eric smiled. What have you done? Mike asked. Just talking about Eric rehearsing with Melissa made Andy hysterical. She was crying and screaming. Another interesting incident happened to Kurt Stevens one Sunday. Kurt was stuck at a red light. At that moment, an abandoned cement truck crashed into his car. At the same time, Eric and Melissa were at church. During the ceremony, Eric got up once to go to the bathroom and left the door open. The janitor, who was actually a police officer, saw Eric's leg and could confirm that he had been in the restroom the entire time. Eric became a suspect because when George Cooper was found beaten, Eric was the only person who, according to George, had a motive to wish him harm. However, there were several witnesses to the incident involving Eric, including George's ex-wife, who could confirm that Eric had arrived at the party before 9:00 p.m. and had left only after George had finished beating him. George was certain that everything had happened at 9:00 p.m. The detectives were also certain of this, as even George's watch, which was broken during the incident, stopped immediately after 9. Eric was ruled out as a suspect. He was also excluded from the Kurt Stevens case because he couldn't have been in the bathroom with an upset stomach and driving a truck at the same time. George will probably never be able to walk again. He also lost his wife and 60% of his property. His life will never be the same. Kurt was in a coma, and no one was sure if he would ever wake up. And if he did, he would be single, because his wife had divorced him. Tom Jenkins didn't wait for the divorce. When he found out what had happened to Kurt and George, he just got in his car and drove away. He didn't even bother to pack his things. He just disappeared. He spent the rest of his life looking over his shoulder, afraid to settle down or stay in one place for too long. He also developed a phobia of married women. He couldn't be around them, no matter how innocent the setting. It was a terrible price to pay. Andy was handsome, but it wasn't worth it. Our meeting went just as Melissa and I had planned. Both Mike and Andy refused to sign the divorce papers. Melissa gave Mike their house. He couldn't afford it because he wasn't working. He also couldn't pay for his truck or utilities. Mike, who was over 40, lived with his parents for a while and then ended up on the street. I offered Andy the house and half of our savings and accounts. I paid off her credit cards. And I offered to pay her a lump sum instead of alimony so I wouldn't have to deal with her. Eric, can't you work this out somehow? Her father asked her. She's willing to forget about your revenge. We're all willing. We know what she put you through. Eric, I'd give anything to have you back, Andy said. But you won't divorce her. You won't. Besides, Andy said, Melissa is very beautiful, but she's starting to get a belly again. Are you sure you want to stay with her? I laughed, reached out, and stroked Andy's head. Silly rabbit, that's not a belly, I said. What is that, Lucky Charms? Andy smiled. No, it's a baby, Melissa said, patting her belly. I told you I got what I wanted. Right after that, Mike threw up. At that moment, Andy's mind went blank and she had to be taken to the hospital. "I'm going to kill you, bitch," she screamed, lunging across the table at Mel. That was the last time I saw her until she showed up at the hospital this morning. Melissa was still asleep, so I went down to the gift shop to buy her some more flowers, even though there was nowhere to put them. I wanted her to know how much I loved her and how important our daughter was to me. When I returned to her floor, Melissa's room was crowded with people. I saw at least 5 security guards and several real police officers. A few minutes later, I saw Andy being led away in handcuffs. I later learned that Andy had entered Melissa's room, allegedly to give her a card. The nurses on duty saw on the monitor that Andy was trying to strangle Mel while she was sleeping. 2 nurses entered the room and pulled her away from Melissa, while a third called security. Andy was eventually returned to the psychiatric hospital and spent an unknown amount of time there. All we know is that she will be there for at least 10 years. The good news is that crazy bitch and her nosiness are out of our lives for a long time. The bad news is that in our state, you can't sue someone who is mentally incompetent. Unfortunately, that means I'm still married to her. I managed to get my house back. Melissa and I live there. She finally found a teaching assistant to help her grade all those notebooks so we can sit on the patio in the evenings and enjoy each other's company. We often go to the lake and walk along the shore because, damn it, it's very romantic. But I keep an eye out for guys who are jealous and want to throw things at us. We named our daughter Curiosity because without curiosity, she wouldn't have been born. Life is good. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel and watch the next video.